My name is Sammy Shatti, and I'm a corporate associate here in the corporate department, here joined by my colleague Omar Khodeir to discuss the enforcement of foreign judgments and arbitral awards here in Kuwait.
My name is Omar Khodeir. I'm a senior associate in Al-Tamimi's litigation department. Just to elaborate further on today's topic, I'll just give an example. Imagine that you have a judgment or an arbitration award that was issued elsewhere, let's say in Japan or in the United States or any place around the world, and you want to enforce it here in Kuwait. Now it happens that the defendants sometimes are located in Kuwait, so it's only logical to think that the assets or the funds are located in Kuwait and you want to enforce against those here in Kuwait. So the question arises how I can proceed with enforcing or endorsing that arbitration award or judgment here in Kuwait.
Yeah, absolutely, Omar. And in fact, we get instructions from a variety of clients from various jurisdictions that have arbitration clauses that come through various jurisdictions. So we've seen instances where arbitration, the seat of arbitration will be in Switzerland, or it'll be a US court, where the nexus to Kuwait is so minimal that the really only real connection that you feel to Kuwait is the name of the defendant or the plaintiff, the affirmant, or maybe the assets or the place of performance of the contract is located in Kuwait. But the key issue here is that the dispute resolution clause is based in a jurisdiction outside of Kuwait.
And the jurisdiction clause would be valid. It's the only practical problem of later on how I can enforce it here. So the question basically is, we get the client comes here with the judgment or the foreign arbitration award asking us to please help us with enforcing or executing it in Kuwait.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm quite aware that there's a portion of the civil procedure that addresses this topic for the enforcement of judgments. As you're aware, you have to go through quite a few procedural hurdles to make sure that the judgment is satisfied. Key among them being that the foreign parties were adequately represented in the foreign tribunal, whether it be arbitration or a court, and that the judgment, whether it be an arbitral award or an actual judgment, is final and binding on the parties.
Yeah, also a condition that the competent court or the body that issued that judgment elsewhere in the foreign country has jurisdiction to actually issue that, which touches upon, of course, that you need to check the laws of the foreign country to check the structure and jurisdiction of that specific court. So, turning our focus now to the enforcement of awards here in Kuwait, a critical element is to ensure that the place in which the verdict is rendered, the arbitral award or the judgment, is a signatory to the New York Convention. Now, Kuwait is a signatory to the New York Convention, and it requires, thinking about the element of reciprocity, it requires that the place in which the judgment is being received from is actually a signatory to the New York Convention. This will allow Kuwaiti courts, in addition to assuming that other procedural hurdles are satisfied, come and enforce the judgment here in Kuwait. Yeah. On that note, also, I know that Kuwait is a signatory to Riyadh Convention and Oman Convention. But coming back to the point about what will the Kuwaiti court do here when they get an endorsement or an enforcement request, while they will review it from a procedural aspect, so they shouldn't really go into the merits of the case. It does happen that sometimes they touch upon technical matters that do relate to the merits. Just for example, the legal interest. A foreign judgment can apply, or a foreign arbitral award can apply a legal interest that's not recognized in Kuwait or against something against public policy, whereby the court can dismiss the enforcement request, which is a risk that you need to assess, obviously.
Yeah, so to wrap up, parties may have a valid contract and they may have a valid dispute resolution clause. But where we see people running into issues is not so much in the plain four corners of the contract, but rather the issues arise when a dispute happens, the parties go and they have a judgment executed, or they've won judgment in their favor and they try and execute it here in Kuwait. At this instance, we see a lot of hurdles and we've seen some of our clients face issues. So it's key to remember a key issue to focus on is how dispute resolution will be carried out.
Absolutely, and that's why you need to have a legal advice to actually tell you about those risks, how you can enforce a judgment or arbitral award. Should I rely on a convention? Should I rely on the civil procedures law? And we guide you through the process.
Get in touch with someone who will provide you with the relevant and adequate legal advice. And we look forward to having you tune in to more of the El Tamimi in Kuwait's Law Series.